It's time to spin those week 11 lineups on Fantasy Spin for the main event contest Sunday early and late action. Make sure you stick around. I got Drew Scott here to break it all down with me. Everything you need to know from a DFS perspective on Fantasy Spin for week 11 coming up next. As I mentioned, that is Drew Scott. You can find him over on X at Drew3MR. So, Drew, looking at the games here in the 1 and 4 o'clock windows, I know a lot of people are going to look probably Bengals, Steelers. Maybe some people are going to be excited about Bears, Vikings. Some degenerates will be excited about Texans, Titans. And then obviously we have Seahawks, Rams, a game that's going to be near and dear to your heart and hopefully on the screens of many, because if you ask me, it's probably the best game of the weekend. But maybe any of those games really catch your eye, or maybe from a DFS perspective, if you're like, hey, if we can get 2 or 3 guys from that game, I'd be really happy with.
Yeah, I think the Seattle and Rams one is tough because it's two offenses with a ton of great fantasy options, but it's also two defenses that are playing pretty well as well. So, it's going to be a tricky one. But if we can walk away somehow with Puka and JSN and Kyron Williams, I'm certainly not going to be upset about it.
And then, of course, Nico Collins, Woody Marks, and Davis Mills. I knew you were going to get around to
round
that.
it out.
Yes,
obviously.
It's sometimes it's those filler pieces of the lineup is what you really need if you want to win. But none of the quarterbacks that we kind of, or actually no Davis Mills and other guys here at this point. I don't know how you don't look at Joe Flacco. He's throwing the ball 40 plus times a week. The Steelers are just bleeding fantasy points to most positions and QBs for the year, 7th most on the year. I know Joe doesn't run, but my goodness, how can you not like Joe Flacco with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase at his disposal against this actually bad Pittsburgh defense?
Yeah, he definitely has to be in consideration for sure. I have him in around like the quarterback 15 range for this week, so maybe there's a chance we get a better quarterback, but he's definitely somebody you at least have to consider, and the matchup solid too. So yeah, I like Flacco this week. I'm actually starting him in a couple leagues, so I wouldn't be mad about Flacco at all.
It's one of those things where Flacco with 9 spins left is a lot different than Flacco with 2 spins left. Obviously,
Right.
I feel like we'd be leaving a lot of meat on the bone taking Flacco and in spin 1, but it's a very good matchup. It's a game I think we're definitely want to be invested in. Let's go to the other side there, because I think we're probably going to try to do better than Freiermuth at tight ends, but tight ends against Bengals have been just money in the bank, no pun intended here, all season. So I'm sure we can do better than Freiermuth. So let me ask you this way. If you had to say this Pittsburgh tight end gets the most fantasy points in that game of the 3 tight ends, which of the 3 do you think scores the most?
Freiermuth would probably be the bet that I would make, but it's tough because it's so spread out. But if I had to pick one, he probably would be the one I'd pick. It's kind of like Flacco, Freiermuth with this many spins left, it was a lot different than if we just have a couple left.
Yeah, and luckily we still have 9 spins left. The only other names here that are interesting, maybe Roma Dunze. I know that the Vikings have struggled with perimeter receivers at times, but man, I just don't know if I can trust him. And then the Baltimore defense is getting healthy. So while I love the fact that Judkins gets 20 carries a week, it just feels like it's going to be like a 20 for 67. And if he doesn't score, it's not paying off for us. So actually, is anybody on this first spin going to be a lock for us?
I don't think I see any guys that have to be locks. No.
Yep, I would tend to agree with you there. So, Flacco again, and then the other Pittsburgh tight end.
The other Pittsburgh tight end.
Sheesh. All right, let's go down to the lower left. We do get Woody Marks. I think the backfield takeover has happened. I still think Nick Chubb is going to be involved because the Houston Brass can't help themselves, and they just want to continue getting the veterans involved. But I mean, everything from Woody Marks last week was great. So I'm obviously biased, so I think I can't make the call here. So I'll defer to you. Is Woody Marks going to be one of our flex spots here?
I'll say on 4th and frames, we do smash or pass every week for week 11, and Woody Marks was one of my smash plays for this week. And I think that I agree. I think the takeover is real in the backfield. It just so happens that Woody Marks' previous best game of his career also came against the Tennessee Titans earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So, I think there's a decent chance that he repeats that. And I think he's up for a big week. So, yeah, I would have no issues locking in Woody Marks here. He's a borderline top 20 running back for me this week.
And 5th most fantasy points allowed to running backs this season is the Titans. Now, I do believe they're getting Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons back, but Woody Marks also does enough in the passing game that we're going to be okay. And who knows? We saw it last week. Houston come out slow again, in the blink of an eye, be down, and the game script is perfect for Woody Marks. So I
Right.
still think there's a lot to like with him. Anybody else here kind of catch your eye? I'd like running backs against Chicago, but Aaron Jones just isn't the most exciting. And like looking at the slate, here's the other thing too. Like I can like some of these guys, but I'm looking like I haven't seen Jamar Chase. I haven't seen T.
Right.
Higgins. I haven't seen Puka. I haven't seen JSN. I haven't seen all of these guys. It's like I can like all of these kind of fringy type guys that we're kind of talking about, but there are so many studs out there just waiting for us to be spin. So it's like, yeah, we could lock in Aaron Jones, but I'm just taking a potential spot away from the likes of Jalen Warren, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, and those types of guys. So I don't think we're locking in anybody here, but does anybody else here you want to mention at all, perhaps?
No. I mean, I do like Romeo Dobbs this week, but I'm seeing a bunch of guys that I would love to be rounding out our lineup with, not guys I want to be locking in right off the rip. So I think I'm good to pass on some of these guys for now.
Fair enough. We finally get a different quarterback up there than Joe Flacco, too. He's been sliding in here. Cortland Sutton's a big name. I wrote about him in the DFS wide receiver coach over at Fantasy Alarm, but perimeter receivers don't get it done against Kansas City. And Bo Nix this I know Nix has some good historical numbers against Kansas City, but the matchup this year does not lend itself well to him. What about like a Khalil Shakir going up against Tampa Bay? He's obviously at this point Josh Allen's, I guess, number one receiver for whatever that means within the current confines of this team. It's just I through three spins, this is kind of the storyline here for us. I'm just not excited about him.
No, that's it, and that's basically a good summary of Khalil Shakir. He's just a guy that's hard to get excited about. He's got a safe floor, but he's not somebody that's typically winning you fantasy weeks, anything like that. And Tampa, they're kind of difficult they're a somewhat difficult matchup for slot receivers too. So, it's. Again, somebody I wouldn't mind rounding out a lineup with, but not the first receiver I'm hoping to lock in here with Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, in Tampa Bay, fifth most yards per game to perimeter receivers and fifth most fantasy points per game to the perimeter receiver. So DFS out there, not a fantasy spin. I'm not going to lock in Keon Coleman, but it could maybe be a Keon Coleman week. The only other guy that's potentially interesting is Travis Etienne, but I think we can do so much better.
Yeah, I would agree. I have him just inside the top 20 running backs this week, but kind of, to your point, we haven't seen any of those big name guys yet. So I'm hoping we got to get one of them at least on one of these spins.
They have been hiding out from us, and great. We get Flacco for the third time in 4 spins here. So all right, we get some illumination there on the board with the likes of Rico Dowdle. Atlanta's actually allowed the 4th most fantasy points per game to running backs this season. We talked about the takeover in the backfield with Woody Marks. It's Dowdle's backfield. Chuba Hu, he's 100%. Done. He's outside of this. So Rico Dowdle here. It seems like Carolina would really love to limit how much Bryce Young has to be involved in winning the game.
It's kind of a very good way of putting it.
Like the less that he has to do to propel them to a victory, the better off they are, which typically means more on the back of Rico Dowdle. So are we locking in Dowdle here in week 11?
Yeah, I think we have to. I mean, Atlanta over the last 5 weeks, second best matchup for fantasy running backs based on schedule adjusted fantasy points given up to the position. So, yeah, I think he has to be an auto lock.
Can I interest you in Drake London?
Oh, you mean the guy that's been wide receiver 1 for what, like 2-3 straight weeks now? Yeah, absolutely. You can interest me in Drake London. Carolina has been at least decent, if not difficult. Their corners, they got a good cornerback room, but just with the target share that he demands on a weekly basis, I don't see how you could possibly go away from Drake London at this point. I mean, it's him and everybody else.
And Carolina sits in a ton of zone and 3.63 yards per route run this season for London against zone coverage. So we will take that. One thing I am going to note too, he hardly went in the slot the first time these two teams played. And Carolina has a little bit of a liability, a little vulnerability there in the slot. So I'd like to see London get in there a little bit more. And actually over a quarter of his routes the past couple of weeks have been in there. So hopefully we see that for London here in week 11. I just got to ask real quick, 6 spins left. The Flacco's come up 3rd times now. Third time's a charm. Are we at the point now where we have to say if Joe Flacco comes up on another freaking spin, we have to lock him in at that point? Because this is FantasySpin trying to tell us, guys, Joe Flacco's going for 30 plus. I am trying to give him to you, and you guys just won't take him.
Yeah, so far it's been him or Bryce Young, and so if that's if that's what we're working with, yeah, we might end up having to just lock in Flacco and stop dodging it.
And then of course, if he goes for like 30 plus, we'll just say, hey, all you had to see, we locked in Flacco. Doesn't
Yeah,
matter how many times we
exactly.
passed on him. We locked him in at the end. And
Exactly.
that is what matters. So no one else there does it for me. We will spin
Oh
there.
man, that's what
Okay.
I'm waiting for.
All right. So here we go. Let's start right at the top. Josh Allen is obviously one of the elite quarterbacks in the league. Do you like the matchup against Tampa Bay enough to say, hey, we're going to lock in Josh Allen now, but forego the opportunity to get the likes of looking at some other quarterbacks like on this slate, like Davis Mills or Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Matthew Stafford? Or do you just say, hey, we've gotten stuck with Joe Flacco and Bryce Young? We finally got someone with a pulse. I'm just going to take Josh Allen and move on.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa isn't necessarily the matchup I'd be hoping for, but it's Josh Allen at the end of the day, and he's going to overcome any difficult matchup. Despite the matchup against Tampa, he's still my quarterback one on the week. So
Yep.
I don't think there's any need to get cute. If you have a chance to plug in Josh Allen, you plug in Josh Allen.
What about the tight end spot with Aronde Gadsden? Good matchup against Jacksonville. I believe they're allowing the second most fantasy points per game on the year to tight ends. And we just saw Dalton Schultz have a pretty good day against them. And ever since Gadsden's gotten the workload that he's been able to handle, he's been really, really good.
Yeah, he's been great. He's my tight end 4 on the week. The only guys I had ahead of him are McBride, Kittle, and Bowers. So there's not going to be many options better than this one. And like to your point, the matchup's great. Jacksonville's the second best matchup for fantasy tight ends over the last 5 weeks. Whenever you look at schedule adjusted fantasy points given up to the tight end, so yeah, great player, very strong role, and a great matchup. So there's not really anything not to like about Gaston this week.
I would love to get Trey McBride. What do you think if you had to if you had I don't want to move away from Gadsden because he's been so good and but looking at the state of the Arizona offense at this point, 14 and a half targets for Trey McBride.
I might still take the over.
I was trying to make it a little bit close, but I mean, my goodness, he's gonna
Yeah,
get peppered. It's gonna be
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And he's actually, lo and behold, Jacoby Brissett starts playing quarterback, and it turns out Trey McBride can score
Yeah.
touchdowns. Who knew? So it really just taking it over the top with McBride now that he's also finding the end zone.
Yep, he's in such a good spot. And then DK Metcalf is also in a good spot. Cincinnati can't stop anybody or anything really at this point. But I mean, like Calvin Austin's getting more targets of late
Yeah,
than DK Metcalf, and it's just like at this point, I I kind of hate to admit it, but DK Metcalf's touchdown dependent at this point. If he doesn't
he is.
score, we're not getting anything. So like, I love the matchup. Locking in DK Metcalf could be like, hey, this takes you to the top of that entry because not many people were willing to lock him in. But man, do I just don't feel good about locking in DK Metcalf. And looking at the past games, it's not that crazy to pass on him.
No, it's not. And then whenever you factor in that, while Cincinnati as a whole, their pass defense has been very beatable, DJ Turner has been playing some good ball, and he shadowed DK Metcalf the last time Pittsburgh and Cincy played, and played him pretty well. Metcalf really struggled against DJ Turner, and I would expect more of the same again this week. So, like, while I think Calvin Austin might be a good dart thrower, the tight ends could be a good play because you can beat Cincy. I think Metcalf's probably the one guy you don't want to be on in the Steelers passing offense this week. So yeah, he's somebody that I've been avoiding, and I had to drop in my rankings with the matchup against DJ Turner.
Yep, I'm going to fade him there as well. I'm also going to fade Jawan Jennings, even with Brock
Yep.
Purdy coming back. Hopefully, we can do a little bit better with some of these spots left. Okay, he just moves up into the receiver. But what do you make? What do you make of Derrick Henry? Obviously, Cleveland's got a pretty strong defense. They've been good against
They
the
do.
run, and Derrick Henry just. I mean, look at this. He hasn't had 20 points in a couple of weeks, but you think that game script would be on his side. Also, I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. Is Derrick Henry not the goal line back anymore for Baltimore?
I don't know what was up with that. And I have to think that that was just like a weird 1 week outlier. Maybe that doesn't end up being the case. But yet, to your point, he is still somewhat of a part-time player if they are trailing, but I do expect the Ravens to handle this game. I don't see. I know division games can always get weird, but with how bad this Cleveland team is, I just don't know how they stick with Baltimore now that Henry's healthy and Baltimore's getting healthy on the defensive side of the ball. It's just if it's hard for me not to envision them controlling the game, which should mean plenty of carries for Derrick Henry. He should get several, I would hope, goal line opportunities, assuming he gets back into that role. But yeah, so I mean, I still have the matchup is difficult because Cleveland's run defense as a whole is strong, but
Mhm.
I do still have him as a borderline top 12, definitely top 15 running back for the week. So I think he's still a solid play, maybe just not a I I I was about to say maybe not a huge upside play, but then as soon as I say that, this could very easily be one of those Derrick Henry 3 touchdown weeks at the same time, given how poor Cleveland's team as a whole is. So I don't think it's a bad option by any means.
Hopefully, he just scores from outside the 5 yard line, and then we don't have to worry about Justice Hill coming in and taking those. So we'll take Derrick Henry there. So now we are looking for our wide receiver and our flex. We got 4 spins to go. Jawan Jennings and Aaron Jones Sr. is just not going to be a good enough duo for me to say we're going to lock that in. So, okay, this is where it gets interesting. I really like Parker Washington, to be fair, but we have to
Right.
have Jackson Smith and Jigba. So now it comes down to, where do we take the lock? Do we unlock Woody Marks and then we're spinning for 2 flex spots? Do we unlock Gadsden and maybe hope for even potentially more upside at tight end and keep Marks down there in the flex spot? At the end of the day, we have to find a way to get Jackson Smith and Jigba in. So who do we take the lock from? I don't think we're taking it from Josh Allen. Don't think it's from Dowd or Drake London or Derrick Henry. So it's, do we unlock Woody Marks or Aronde Gadsden?
I struggle because I really like Woody Marks this week, but I also feel like there's going to be more opportunities to upgrade our flex spot than there's going to be opportunities to upgrade at tight end. Like
Yeah.
there's 2-3 options at tight end that you're going to be happy with
Mhm.
that you rolled the dice on with skipping over Gaskin, and there's much more than that in front of Woody Marks from a flex standpoint. So as much as I like Marks this week, if we're going to have to unlock one of them, I think it's got to be Marks to get JSN in here because we can't. The guy's just a walking 100 yards now at this point, So even the Rams defense has been a somewhat difficult matchup for fantasy receivers, but JSN is an auto play every week.
Not that you need, like you said, not that you really need a reason to do it, but the Rams play a good bit of cover 3. JSN, 5th most fantasy points per route run amongst wide receivers with 50 routes run against cover 3. Also has 3.39 yards per route run. So not that you needed a reason, but I just like to throw out cool numbers when you have them. You know what I mean?
That is a cool number.
It is, yeah, it's a great number. It's a great number, especially if it
Absolutely.
helps our lineup here. So, all right, so now we unlocked Woody Marks. We got Jackson Smith and Jigba. We got ourselves another elite wide receiver. So now we are going for 2 flex spots, and we get 2 slot receivers in Calvin Austin and Olamide Zaccheaus. I think we can push our luck at this point.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
And see if we can do anything better, and that is excellent.
That'll work. That will work.
I think we're going to lock that lineup in.
Yeah. I think we're good here. I think we're patient. It did played that well.
See, it had us in the first half. Those first couple spins, it's like
right.
you have to push through the Joe Flacco's and the Bryce Youngs of the world to get to the Puka Nakuas and the Jackson Smith and Jigbas. But as we enter this lineup, we are going to do a little pick'em entry with it here, Drew. So of the players on the screen in our lineup, which of the players are you most confident in that exceed their projected fantasy point total as shown on the screen? There's no lesses. We are optimists here. We are pushing. Our lineup is going to do well, and everyone's going to exceed. But of the ones on the screen, give me 1 or 2 that you're most confident. Like, yes, that player is definitely going over that point total.
I'm tempted to say Gadsden's because it is so low. It's definitely intriguing. We just talked about how terrible Atlanta is against the run and how committed that Carolina is to just running the ball as much as humanly possible. So I'm tempted to say Dowdle as well. But I mean, how do you not take at this point with how involved both JSN and Puka are? How do you not take those overs despite the fact that they're as high as they are? So we have some really tough choices here. But I would think I would want to go with the 2 receivers from the Rams Seahawks game, or Dowdle or Gadsden would be the ones that stuck out for me.
All right, let's just do all the ones we talked about. I like Gadsden. I like Dowdle. Drake London was the one that I was going to kind of beat the drum for, and I like the other 2 as well. So let's just do those 5, see if we can 20x those tokens, turn 1,000 into 20,000. So we'll confirm that entry, and just one last time, get a good look at that line. Remember what we pushed through. Go back to the beginning, rewind this, look through all the slop that we pushed through for a couple of spins to come out with this week 11 masterpiece for this tokens contest in the main event for the Sunday early and late slate. But that's it. That's everything you need to know for week 11 action on Fantasy Spin. Drew, why don't you let everyone know where they can find you and everything content-wise that you got this fantasy football season?
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me on. This is always a blast to get to do. You can find me on Twitter at Drew3MR and then over at Fantasy and Frames. We do Fourth and Frames, the redraft show for Fantasy and Frames every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. So you can check us out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast at. We are there as well. And then, of course, make sure to check out fantasyandframes.com. We've got weekly rankings, articles, start sits, waivers, all that good stuff. So check out the website as well.
Absolutely. Check that out once again at Drew3MR over on X. You can find me on X at Colby R. Conway. And if you are ready to spin to win and experience the newest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports this football or basketball or hockey season, head on over to the Google Play or the Apple App Store. Download the Fantasy Spin app today, and we will see you on the leaderboard. What's up, y'all? Hope you enjoyed the content. For the avoidance of doubt, please note that I, Colby Conway, am a DFS player entering these contests under the username Colby Conway. The strategies and recommendations in this video do not necessarily reflect the views of Fantasy Spin. Please play responsibly and visit fantasyspin.com/responsible gaming to take advantage of Fantasy Spin's responsible gaming resources.